Hey everybody, welcome back to The Complete Game, episode 62. I'm your host, Curt Schilling. He is Garrig Schilling, my first and oldest son. How's it going, G?
Good, good. What's going on, everybody? We got a lot
Gonna,
to catch up on.
yep, gonna give you our word here. We're not gonna be skipping going forward. It's just been a crazy couple of weeks and a lot
We're
going on,
traveling.
but the playoffs is not the time to be moving and getting other things done. Some crazy stuff has happened. We're now on to the league LCSs. Game one tonight. Surprising for I think a lot of people as the Mariners come away 3-1 winners tonight. But we want to back up and talk about how we got here. And I guess, place to start probably is the Phillies Dodgers series and how that ended, and I don't want to say tragedy, but just a heartbreaking way for the season to end. And I'm not going to rant long, but one of the things that is lost in all this rush to the big leagues with young players is fundamentals, and a very fundamental play in a high pressure game cost the Phillies their season. And it didn't, in the sense that the game ended that way, but there were a lot of things that happened before that play that the Phillies could have addressed and won that game. But
You got to score
everybody's
more
going to
than one
remember that.
run in an elimination game.
Right.
Their big bats didn't
Right.
show up either. So it's not all on this kid, but
Yeah.
that's what the story is going to
No.
be about, unfortunately,
Right.
for Orion
Right.
Kirkring.
Yeah.
So that
Yep.
sucks. And it was the clip of the Dodgers just storming past him to run to Andy
Yeah.
Pajes
Running
while
by
he's got
him.
his head hanging. That
Yeah.
was heartbreaking. So tough way for the Phillies
And
season
and for
then.
you young pitchers out there that might be watching this, let me just give you some advice. And I told you this, Garrett. The first 2 weeks of every spring training is when teams go through what they call PFE, which is pitchers fundamental practice. And early in my career, I learned and heard from different players that fielding your position and hitting in the National League was worth 2 to 3 wins a year. I took that stuff very seriously. But in a situation like that, one of the things that you do when you have a little experience and you've come through the minor leagues and you've taken PFP is you always talk yourself through the situation. Bases loaded, ball back to me, I'm going home. Or ball back to me, I'm stepping and throwing to first. And, if something happens, then I make a throw to the base in front of me, whether the ball kicks off me or something. But you always say those things. And for no other reason than, he said it, like I panicked. I clanked the ball and I panicked. And you could see him the way he threw the ball. He didn't step. He didn't do any of the things that you fundamentally do. And
He
he
didn't have
threw it
time
away.
to get. He didn't have time to do it. It was not the
No,
play he had the most time to make.
right. What he had time to do was step to the plate and throw it instead of throwing the ball flat-footed, which is the worst possible thing you could do. He could have even turned and thrown to first, because but it would have had to happen quick. But the fact of the matter is, it's a situation where you always talk yourself through the play before the ball goes into play. Come back to me, guy on first. Come back to me, turn and throw to second. Slow roller, get on it, go to first. Or slow roller, in that situation, a guy chops a ball that lands in front of the plate. All of a sudden, if you haven't talked yourself through that, where you say, hey, slow roll in front of me, pick it up, go home, because that play's right in front of you. Little
I
things
mean,
like that. But again,
JT,
good.
the picture forever will be JT Real Muto because there's a
Right.
freeze frame second where he's pointing to first.
Right.
But that is like for me when I was younger, like if I needed to take a deep breath, like sometimes instead of just taking a real physical deep breath, it would be looking at a shortstop or a second baseman and be like, I'm coming to you if this is hit hard at me, and looking at a first baseman. Just
Yeah, and
having
I
an actual
disagree with Realmuto.
conversation to take you out of your own head.
Right. Right. Hey, come back, or you and me, you and me, you and me, whatever. Yeah, those are. But again, in the minor leagues, it used to be. I don't know if it's the case anymore. When you were in the lower minor leagues, you took PFP like twice a week. These guys, they do it for spring training for 2 weeks and don't do it ever again. And we used to have, and listen, go back to years ago when the Cardinals played the Tigers. The Tigers pitching staff, I think, made multiple errors during the World Series. They ended up costing them the World Series.
I mean, we'll talk
So
about the
anyway,
Mariners and Tigers in a second too. It almost cost the
right.
Mariners and the Tigers
Well, yeah,
separately in extra innings,
right.
doing pickoffs
But
and throwing the
right.
ball away.
But ultimately, Sabermetrics, and I've said it time and time again. Listen, the Brewers Cubs bullpen by committee game. I mean, come on. How do you get up for that as a fan. Oh, we're gonna see 7 pitchers throw tonight. It's it's so different, and I would argue that cost the Tigers their season. Skubal is at 99 pitches, and he had punched out 13 over 6, clearly dominant. But if you're going to stretch a guy, that's the game you stretch him in. Now, he might have been tired. I don't think he was. I don't think he said he was. I think that they just took him out. And, I keep going back to the Tampa Bay and Blake Snell throwing 7 shutout innings and getting pulled because that's what the numbers said. Cost Tampa a World Series. I'm not saying Tigers would have won, but they would have had a much better chance. And the wheels fell off as soon as he came out of the game because teams' pitching changes create momentum sometimes without a pitch ever being thrown because, this guy's out. He's out of the game in both ways. But Sabermetrics doesn't win in October, and there are some teams that have gone home already because of it. You can look at the box score from tonight's game. Gausman starts, and they bring in 5 relievers behind him. And then Miller, who threw really well. And again, think about this. Springer leads off with a home run, which just, I can't. That stadium is monstrously loud. They're loud fans, so the energy was crazy, and all the things that go with that. They got one more hit the rest of the game.
Yeah, real quick, I was gonna give you that. So Bryce Miller, the starter for the Mariners, after giving up that first pitch home run, had a struggle with the second at bat, and then after that, he had a base runner in the second inning, and there wasn't another base runner for the Blue Jays the rest of the game. Talk about settling in on the road, like you mentioned. That's probably the last of the 4 remaining ballparks you want to give up a first pitch home run into the home team, and it's just, talk about an impressive road win.
Right, he walked 3 and gave up 2 hits. So it wasn't dominating in that sense, but the fact of the matter was the Toronto Blue Jays.
He gave them nothing to cheer about the entire game.
Well, and you talked about before the show, and it's legit. Vladdy went 0 for 4, and Bichette is not playing. A monstrous impact on that lineup.
It wasn't as noticeable against the Yankees when Vladdy was homering every game.
Right.
But now that they get 2 hits in a game and not one since the first or second inning, it's very apparent that their hit leader is not in the lineup.
Yeah,
and it's sorely missed.
And I got to tell you, and I've said it before, in the postseason, pitching is pitchers create momentum. Punching out the side in the first inning, getting out of a big situation in the third inning or whatever. In the postseason, that stuff gets fans in and out of a ball game, and hitters feed off that, athletes feed off that. And, Miller was strong, and you could make an argument, and I wouldn't have a problem with it, that Sabermetrics is the reason he came out of the game.
Yeah, Gausman's
72 pitches in 6 innings.
Gausman's the one who has the bone to pick because he was taken out after a walk after giving up the Raleigh home run, and they immediately gave up the lead to Jorge Polanco, who was the 15th inning hero and was the hero again tonight with the go-ahead and insurance RBI.
Yeah, but the Sabermetrics is so ingrained in the game now that it used to be. I'll give you an example. In '93, Jim Fregosi brings in Mitch Williams in Game 6, and Mitch was out of gas. Mitch had nothing left, and it wasn't. Mitch just pitched every day, and he had nothing. But he gives up the home run to Joe Carter, and the response pretty much is, "Well, that's what we did all year, and that's how we won." Now you've got the reverse is true. Well, I took him out because it was getting ready to be the third time around the lineup, and that's what we've done all year, and that's what we do. So it's cover for the managers in many ways. Just like using the same guy every night is the cover for the managers. But I think it's much less entertaining. And again, I'm not saying you revert back, but Kevin Gausman and Miller both tonight could have gone into the 8th and 9th inning. Both were strong. Neither one had a lot of pitches. But the numbers say they don't want to give up a home run on pitch 84 facing a guy for the third time, because then the writers who've now become experts in sabermetrics are like, well, why did you leave him to face the lineup for the third time? I faced the lineup for a third and fourth time hundreds of times. But with the decline in true pitching, it is kind of a gamble in that sense. But Seattle wins a big one. I mean, that's a big one on the road, first night. Now, in my mind, it switches back. If Toronto ends up winning game 2, then fine. They get out of there with a split. Nobody's worse for wear. Seattle feels good. Toronto feels good. Dude, if they go to Seattle down up 2-0, you can see this has got sweet potential.
It's the
Very
first,
easily.
and that would be the first appearance for them. Not, I mean, let alone winning it all, but just going would be an unbelievable thing for that city because that'd be a fun city to see in the
Well,
playoffs.
in 01, when we played the Yankees, that was the year the Mariners won 116 games. They were just ridiculously good, and they got upset. That was one of those best teams to never win it all kind of a thing.
Speaking of the 2001 season, I wanted to ask you about this before we got out of the manager talk. Aaron Boone, who is the New York Yankees manager, has had to answer a lot of questions this week, and he seems to very comfortably think he's not going anywhere in a Yankees organization that has had to watch the Red Sox win for this side of the century, while their dynasty has only been able to trickle out one, with a lot of disappointing postseason appearances, including this one, I think.
With monstrous payrolls and star-studded rosters.
They got to beat the Red Sox this year, as much of a consolation as that is, but once again, they come up short of the big prize, and Aaron Judge is really the only performer. Everyone else in their lineup hit under 230 other than Judge, who hit 500 and was a monster. And as you mentioned, it's a monster payroll like every year.
Yep.
And
well, the expectation in New York is win the World Series or the season's a failure. And it's a realistic level of expectation from the payroll talent perspective. They're always that way, right? And so here's the thing. You can never fire the team, right? And when a team struggles, change managers, get a new message in the clubhouse, and all things go with that. That's not what's happening in New York. That's not the reason they're not winning. They're not winning, number one, like everybody else. They had injuries, big injuries. Garrett Cole being out the whole year was a big deal, but he still managed to get them into the postseason. Yep, they knocked out the Red Sox. But the fact of the matter was, you said it perfectly. Aaron Judge is the only one that showed up. And as the manager, what can you do? You can only put the names on the card. And that's a group. So there are certain times when you lose during the season and you go in the off season and you're looking around going, yeah, our manager's just not, it's not going to happen. He's not a good manager, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't, team either doesn't respect him or doesn't have a feel for him. I promise you with every fiber of my being that every member of that Yankees roster would, literally take a bullet for Aaron Boone. I guarantee you he's
seems
beloved.
that way.
Yes. And he's the kind of guy that does that. So Cashman, when Cashman looks around at his team for next year and sees, we need Garrett Cole back and we've got some young Schitler and a couple other guys, they've got
Schlittler.
I know, but
come on, David Ortiz.
I know.
Which, by the way, did you see that with him and Vladdy?
I did.
How great was that?
Yeah.
Say with me, the Yankees lose.
But one of the things that Brian Cashman is not worried about is addressing the managerial issue in New York. Because I think he just wants to have a healthy roster. They're going to, there are some big names out there this year, and the Yankees won't, they will not sign people, and if they don't, it won't be from lack of effort.
Let's talk about one of those big people, because I was going to save it for the end of the show, but I did want to, because we talked early in the year and I mentioned Rafi Devers might be moving away from the Red Sox. Now I have a Amazon wish list item for the Red Sox, because he has 10-year, what was it? I think he broke terms on his contract. I want Pete Alonso to come to the Red Sox.
Really?
I think that would be unbelievable.
Huh. That's it. Well,
and I can see it happening. I can see him in the Red Sox uniform. He's a very he's rode with the Mets this long, and they're a miserable franchise. So,
yeah, I think that speaks volumes about what happened in New York this year that he opted out.
Him of all people too.
Well, yeah, when you consider last year, I mean, remember how long he went unsigned, and then he got the 1-year deal, and with the
And they landed
um,
Soto. Like
yep,
they had the offseason you wanted if you were Pete Alonso.
right, right. Now,
That means there's
yeah,
something more going on there,
well,
obviously.
and when you're looking at free agency from a Boston perspective, one of the things you can do is, I think, go into a potential free agent from New York and say he checks the boxes we need to work. I love the guy to death, but Edgar Renteria couldn't play in Boston. He didn't. The whole thing was too much. And it's a thing. It's a thing you
But
have
he
to
could
look at.
DH.
Or no, but I'm saying one of the things you already have answered is Pete Alonso will have no issues playing in a city like Boston.
Yeah, that's
In
what I mean.
fact,
I
there's
think
a
he'd get
potential
a great fit.
Schwarber to Philadelphia kind of a love affair, if Pete ends up being that guy. And um, I'd be curious to see. I'm not really worried about. I think their offense is going to be very good next year, and yeah, certainly would like Alonso. I think that they have to do everything they can do to sign a legit, true number two. I think Crochet is your guy. He's the guy that starts opening day. He's the guy that starts game one of the playoffs. But I need a Yamamoto. I need a Blake Snell in that 2 hole for the Red Sox in that division, because I think in the playoffs, hopefully they realize again this year that and I think Bell is a great 3. I really like the kid. I just forgot his name from the Giants, the lefty they got. And then Early looked like he's going to be
Oh
good.
yeah, in that
You know,
trade.
yeah. Um,
Did he
but I
pitch for
want to
him early?
see,
Not early, right?
huh?
Not early, right? He didn't pitch for them, right?
No,
Harrison.
early through and late. But this Anderson, or I can't remember what his name
Harrison.
was. Harrison. I really like, if the coaching is,
Kyle Harrison.
yeah, there's a lot to like about him. I think he ends up making the Devers deal a huge steal if they develop him properly. But I need a bona fide Corbin Burns-esque level veteran stud, like, losing back-to-back games is a crazy thing with this guy, kind of an arm. Gonna have to pay for it. I mean, and I didn't really realize, holy crap, the Dodgers are set up to roll over this postseason. Look at that. They're going Snell game 1,
What did
Yamamoto
I
game 2.
what did I text you about the salary disparity? I mean, we were just talking about the Yankees and their payroll. The Dodgers are like the new age Yankees. They're the number 1 payroll versus the number 22 with the Brewers, and then the Blue Jays and Mariners are 5 and 15
Right,
respectively,
right.
but
But the
350
Brewers got
million gets
something
you a
going
rotation like
on.
that.
Right. The Brewers feel like very much like a 93 Phillies versus a 93 Braves. The personality thing and the character thing. They're a baseball team. They catch the ball, they run the bases right. They're Craig Counsell-esque, Pat Murphy-esque. They're fundamental baseball players who love each other, believe in each other. And I'm not saying the Dodgers don't have that. What I'm saying is, you look at, well, a lot of people do this, right? They'll say, hey, look, I'm going to look at this stat sheet, and I'm going to look at this stat sheet. These teams have no business being in the same ballpark. And those stat sheets don't matter in October if your pitching lines up right. If the Brewers don't win the series, I don't think the Dodgers are going to dominate them, but I think the Brandon Woodruff injury is massive. I think that's going to end up being a massive, massive thing, because I think they're already talking about the Brewers are going bullpen game 1.
They haven't
And
named a
then
starter.
Peralta 2. And then there's a debate on whether they want to give Mizorowski chunk innings as the second guy out, or have him start game 3.
They have Quinn Priester as well too.
Yeah, yeah. But again, I just think it's a disservice to baseball when you're looking at 2 teams who are going to run 7 pitchers each out for a playoff game. It's very anticlimactic in that sense. Because it isn't Pedro versus Clemens, or Johnson versus Clemens, or anything like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm sad to see Skubal and the Tigers out, is you're not going to have a Skubal versus Otani, or those kind of matchups. So
Yeah, the fun part I think about the Brewers that you can't really quantify or put onto a salary cap or like a list that I is this tweet I'll read right here that I'll put on the screen for later. This is how they've acquired a bunch of these guys that are very key parts of their lineup and all played roles in getting them here. Andrew Vaughn was a DFA'd former top 3 overall pick. Bryce Turang was a high-profile first-round pick. Jacob Mizorowski, second-round pick out of junior college. William Contreras acquired in a creative 3-team 9-player trade. Chad Patrick acquired as a prospect for Abraham Toro. Abner Uribe signed for $85,000 out of the Dominican Republic. Caleb Durbin, twice traded unranked prospect from D3. And these are just some of the Brewers' talent, like the job they've done in finding, and like
Yep.
we've talked about Andrew Vaughn specifically a lot and given him a lot of shine, but they plucked
Well,
a
that
lot of
was the guy
gems
we
to
we
get them
talked
here.
about. His numbers in Chicago versus Milwaukee are the ultimate change of scenery guy, right? I mean that's what a lot of teams are hoping to either to get when they make those deals. I mean, that's I'm not saying Kyle Harrison's that guy, but the hope is that he becomes the legit. I mean, he's the number one, number two arm. And why wasn't he there? Why wasn't that his where he was headed in San Francisco? You want him to become that in Boston. I think the thing with Boston, and going back to your wish list with Alfonso, I'm really curious to see how the outfield and that fourth infield thing shakes out, because everybody's talking about. I think moving any of those guys is, I don't look at it, because there's a saying, you can never have enough pitching, and it always plays out, right? Somebody gets hurt, you never, oh, we're going to go with 6 starters during the season. That never works out because somebody gets hurt, and you end up with 5 starters. They're talking about having all these with Campbell and Duran and all these young talented players, Meyer and all these guys. Oh, we have too many bats for too many spots. Well, it's 100. Have we not watched the 162 game schedule of attrition? No team goes through the season with with anybody or everybody playing all those games. Now you want to get these kids at bats because they need at bats to see the maturation happen. But I'm not sure what the move is for Boston, other than and as a fan, I'm looking at the ownership saying, "Go spend the money. You got the money. Go spend it. Go get me." Go get us a 1A. Now, we have to look at the market. I'm not really sure market-wise what's out there this winter, but you should be the top suitor for the number one starting pitching arm on the market. No question.
You're talking about the attrition of 162 now plus game season. We already talked about how much the Blue Jays, who are now down 0-1, miss Bo Bichette. Do you think the Brewers have any chance tomorrow night, or are we going to be talking about
Oh,
Brandon
yeah.
Woodruff like you mentioned?
No, 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 no. So again, I can't tell you. One of the reasons why I'm sure Vegas is just in a quandary over the postseason when you get these bullpen by committee games. Um, but I have no idea how that's going to play out, because you're going to see 7 different guys, and as the team running the bullpen out there, instead of hoping your starting pitcher's on, I said this before, you're hoping your starting pitcher's on so you can get to your closer and bridge that with maybe one guy getting an out or two. You're hoping the 7 guys are on, and it just doesn't happen.
The Brewers are decent underdogs at home, and the total's 8 runs with Blake Snell and no starting pitcher decided for the Brewers right now.
Right. The question becomes, can the Brewers pitching stymie the Dodger offense enough that the Brewer offense can outscore them, right? I don't think you're going to shut the Dodger offense down by any stretch. Maybe they have a phenomenal series. I don't know, but I
The
would
Brewers,
expect.
go ahead,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say the Brewers, in my mind, much like the Mariners tonight, need to stay resilient and need to play the small ball like we talked about on the base path, and they need to grind out at bats. There's been
So
so much
here's what I
first
would
pitch
tell you.
swinging.
I've heard people do this before series, and they end up predicting the exact opposite of what happens. I would tell you that this series, the Dodgers are going to score 2, 3, 4, 5 runs a night, and the Brewers can't give them extra outs. They have to play that solid defense they're playing, and they'll have to hit incredibly well with runners in scoring position, because where is the hole in the Dodger arsenal? It's the between the starter and the closer. Sasaki is clearly relishing that closing role.
Yeah, he looks unreal.
And they've got 4 starters. So they're going to run 4 guys out there. So but their hole is in the middle there. When you go from if you get 7 from Snell and 2 or 3 guys to get the 3 outs in the 8th, Sasaki's fine. If you get 7 are you going to get 7 from Ohtani? Because if you go and do the sabermetric thing and say, okay, Snell, you're done after 5 1/3 because you're at 84 pitches. You've got what, 3, 9, 10, 11 outs, 12 outs left to get. And 9 of those outs are getting by pitches you don't have any confidence in. That's where the Brewers will beat them. In my opinion, for the Brewers to win this series, they're going to have to play flawless defense. They're going to have to get phenomenal pitching from all of the guys in their bullpen. And that's why I don't think it's possible. I just don't think you can do that. I don't think you're going to get 8 guys to throw up multiple zeros every night for a 7-game series. I think it's impossible to ask. And again, that's why, to me, Sabermetrics doesn't win. I'll be surprised if the Brewers beat them. I won't be shocked. And again, if they only beat them, if their offense gets to the Dodgers starting pitching, and limits them till they can get to the bullpen. But I'm looking, in my opinion, I don't see 1-0, 2-1s. I also don't see 11-10s or 12-9s. I see 5-4, 4-3 with the Brewers hitting with runners in scoring position and playing phenomenal defense.
Yeah, I can see tomorrow being like 2-0 Dodgers until the 7th, and William Contreras hits like a 3-run home run. That's what I mean by, I think the Brewers, like, unlike a lot of teams who are swinging at a lot of first pitches, which the ones that are here it's worked out for, but I think they're gonna have to grind Blake Snell and these starters out of these games because they're the best starting pitching rotation left in the playoffs by far. So
I was going to say the same thing, but I'm not sure by far. I think the Mariners the Mariners could potentially 4-1 the Jays, 4-2 the Jays, because they have very, very, very good starting pitching.
Is tomorrow a must win for the Blue Jays?
I don't know that Seattle's good enough that the Mariners.
You just said they could 4-1 them.
No, but I'm saying I don't know that if they pitch really well, yes. I don't think that it might be in retrospect, but I don't think the Blue Jays look at the Mariners as, oh, if we're down 2-0, we're dead. I don't feel like that. The only team in the postseason left that if you're down 2-0, you're going, oh God, to me is the Dodgers.
Yeah, because you go back to LA at that point too, which is tough. Yeah. That's why I said is tomorrow a must win for the Blue Jays, because then they go to Seattle.
I will tell you this: if any game in which the Brewers hold the Dodgers to 3 runs or less, they have to win. They have to win.
I don't think they were held to less than 3 runs by the Phillies. So that'll be interesting.
But I don't look at and I could be wrong, but I don't look at the Brewers offense.
They won a 2-1 game. Yeah, they did.
Right. I don't look at the Brewers offense as a team that can go out there and win 7-6 against the Dodger starting pitching. And Sasaki's going to be interesting this year, this postseason, because it feels to me like they're worried about throwing him too much back-to-back days or whatever. You can't do that now. It goes back to Washington taking Steven Strasburg off and not letting him throw in the postseason, cost him World Series.
Yeah, the Dodgers are looking to be the first team to repeat since the Yankees, speaking of which. So
Yep.
Since they were good.
And the Blue Jays are looking to win their first one since Joe walked us off 32 years ago.
And the other 2 are looking to win their first ever.
Yeah. We were talking about this earlier. I guarantee you MLB is praying for Dodgers Blue Jays. And as a baseball fan, for me, I would love to see Mariners Brewers. I would love to see one of those cities get there first.
That's definitely the consensus online. I feel like is Mariners Brewers just for the fans, and then Dodgers Blue Jays for the league, for the shield.
And for those of you that don't know, Seattle might be one of the sleeping giant hidden gems of professional sports as far as sports fans go. Their baseball fans are phenomenal, and that place I loved playing there. Beautiful city. Beautiful
if you're
ballpark.
a hockey fan, you know that too because of how
Yeah.
embraced they've been the last couple
Yep.
of years.
Yep. Yeah, I think Seattle has done a lot of the things that Nashville did when they brought the Predators here. They've
And
done it
Vegas.
right. Yeah. Yep. By the way, hockey started. Your
Did you
Bees are 3-0, brother.
Yeah, did you see the first Ice Age hockey game in history happen last night
No,
here in Nashville? The Ice Age game.
I don't. I don't know what
The
that is.
the Predators versus the Mammoth. You know the Ice Age movie with the saber-toothed tiger
Oh,
and Ray Romano?
I didn't. Okay, I didn't know that.
So that and
That's
they're in the
cool.
Western Conference, so they'll play a couple
Nice.
times a year. But that's like that's such brilliant. Like you
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
to, the
Yep.
Predators. They were talking about like the Yeti and a couple other names. The Predators GM or whoever was representing them in those meetings was like, you guys should go with the Mammoth. The Mammoth.
Yeah.
It'd be great for our marketing when you come here twice a year.
Yep.
I saw Ray Romano's Woolly Mammoth and the sloth that Gabby does a 10 out of
Oh my
10
God,
impression of
Sid.
everywhere yesterday
Sid the
because of
sloth.
that game. But
All
yeah,
right.
a little hockey before we head out.
All right.
Thanks for
So
listening,
what do we
guys.
got this Sunday? So Tuesday.
Tuesday, yep, we'll be back. There'll be a couple more games between now and then. We'll have 2
Yep.
games done in
Yep.
both series. So
Yep. And if a series gets long and goes 6 or 7, we may do another live stream where we sit through a playoff game and
yep,
watch and hang out.
yeah, we should do
So
that.
all right.
Oh yeah, Tuesday they have Yamamoto Peralta already announced. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we'll get back to you after there's 2 games. After we're headed out to the West Coast in both
Yep.
series, we'll get back to you. So
All right, Bubba.
thanks for listening, guys.
All right.
I'll talk to you. I love you.
I love you too.